Oh, shite. Hello, everybody. It's Spirit 420 here because everything I do is just so damn 420. I don't have a lighter. I just realized that I don't have a lighter, so I cannot light up this joint. I'll be right back. There we go. Right. Maybe I'll just do the whole show in this accent. Right? I don't know if this is a British accent or a Australian accent or a New Zealand accent. It's a new British Zealand accent. New British land. There you go. Oh, what a day, what a day, what a day, what a day. What a day. That's all I can say. Oh, there's a comment. Let me get away. What do we got? I knew it was you. I knew it before I did it, bro. Of course you're saying hello. Hopefully the wife is with you. Running a little bit late. Things have been crazy on the other side of my life, if you will, my behind the madness, I guess is the best way to say it. You know, we have started a business, and soon enough, I promise, soon enough, you'll all know what it is. If you don't already, some of you do, some of you don't. I'm keeping it low key because I want the business to thrive on its own merit, and not I have asked for it, or anybody for that matter. Now, that doesn't mean that when somebody tries it, I don't want them to brag about it. That's the whole point. I want somebody to try it and brag about it and be like, "Oh, fuck, that Spirit 420 is onto something." Gives a like and a subscribe. Yes, I agree. Everybody should. If you're not already subscribe and like. I actually have something to say, and I'm talking about every time because this world needs it, you know, and I have come face to face with the blunt reality that it does. And what I mean by that, hold on, is when people are reaching out to me, and when I say people, obviously that's plural, right? So are reaching out to me saying, "Hey, you know, what you do really matters. What you do, what you say, I really love it because it helps me," right? It only takes one of those to make me happy. Two of them ecstatic. Anything more than two, and I'm flying on cloud nine because that's the whole purpose. I'm not 4 likes or 4 subscribes. The reason that I want those things is the more people that like and subscribe, the more people that will hear the message and they will start to love themselves. Because that's really, ultimately, it is. And I just got a text literally from Bob. Love you, man. If you're out there, green scientist, I'm streaming. And of course, I have to take a moment. I have to and let him know. So yeah, so no, it's silence, but you know what? This is not a normal show. This is the Spirit of 420 show, the So 420 show. And how many times have you been with a buddy and they have the conversation to text back, especially in a stoner moment? So, it ends up telling me why, and it doesn't matter how many people right now. I mean, obviously, I want to consistently get more. I'm not trying to deny that. I try to be very transparent. I want it to come from ultimately both, you know, anything that I'm doing, I want it. I hate to put advertising dollars behind things, you know. I still will do it. And I'm not that I won't do it at all. You know, you've got to survive, and in order for the company to thrive, in order for anything to thrive, many times have to put advertising dollars behind. I haven't put any advertising dollars behind Spirit 420, and I don't plan on doing that anytime soon if I don't have to. But, yep, just family movie going on. I know it. The wife is the wife not there with you? I thought she was going to be there with you. Tell her Spirit loves her and she already knows that. But no, back to what I was saying. I want this to become, and I'm trying to again be as transparent as I possibly can, but I want what I'm doing collectively, and there is multiple things and it's phases, just like everything. You can't do it all at once. I have a ton of ideas, but I have to just take one at a time. Once you have one idea kicking and it is self-sufficient, then you can move on to the next one, right? But what I really want is to create a movement that is different than the other companies and the other what's the word? Um, just personalities. There it is. The other personalities that are out there, right? To me, many of them, and I mean no disrespect to any of them, but many of them seem like saying the same thing and not doing anything different. And I believe that a lot lies in putting that action behind your words, right? It's funny because today I had the opportunity to be one of those other companies. I won't get into the whole thing because I'm not trying to focus on that. I just want to give you this much. Someone made a mistake. Many other companies that I've seen today would have been like, fuck that guy. That's it. I'm not even going to get into the mistake. Somebody made a mistake and we did not make them before because mistakes happen. They just happen, misunderstandings, mistakes, what's the word? Miscalculations, whatever it may be. These things happen. And if you live your life, and in my personal humble opinion, if you live your life black and white, where if they make a mistake, that's not a way. I mean, I have a slight rule, and that is if someone has fucked me over twice, I'm not going to get third. But I find myself still even breaking that rule at times for certain people who, because here's what's funny: the closer somebody gets to you, the higher the odds are that they're going to hurt you, most likely unintentionally. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. It's actually, if you really think about it, common sense dictates that if, especially partners, let's talk about that. Like you do a partnership of some kind, right? Odds are you're going to hurt them or they're going to hurt you unintentionally more often than once. It's just the simple fact, right? And I love that. I got to put that up. I wasn't going to do it, but oh man, I love you, brother. Go ahead and you gotta make your daughter happy. That's just all to it. Or you'll pay the price. I think that's what she's. There you go. Oh, yeah, and they'll take everything they know about you and slew it around so they look like the savior. I had to read that 3 times. I had to read that 3 times to make sure that I was. The first time I read it, I thought it was something nice. The second time I read it, I understood it was not nice, but I didn't get the full meaning. It took me 3 minutes to do that. So there's your typical stoner, and all I can tell you is, supposedly I'm really smart. Yeah, I'll tell you one thing too, and I'm saying this as sweet and kind as I can. I have a bad habit. I'll talk about me and my bad habit. You had to write it too. That's funny. One of my bad habits, and I do mean one of my horrible habits. And I've been doing this since I was a kid. And before you think I'm talking to you, I'm not. Just to the whole message, okay? Do not jump the gun or jump to conclusions or assume anything. But one of the bad habits that I have, and I still have it today, is that I'm going to call it pity pot. Now, today I'm not on my pity pot, right? But back then it was many times pity pot. And what I mean by pity pot is I would always, why me? Why is this happening to me? And I just had a friend today, and if they're out there, they know who they are, who saved me this thing, right, when I was going through my garbage. But by the afternoon was dealing with some shit that really hit them hard. And when I say hit them hard, if you understand what I mean here, whenever you start to question your beliefs and what you know hold dear to you and all that stuff at any time, then that something has hit you really hard, right? And it's funny because I told him, I was like, you remember what you just said to me this morning. Remember what you just said to me when I was the one. Like, why? Because what's funny, and they had a different reason for their why, but I had one too. And my whole thing was the why is that it is the balance. It's all happening. There are always going to be jerks, assholes. And here's the real key about it. The brighter you shine, right? It works ways, folks. And think about that what I'm talking about for a minute, okay? I'll come back to the other side. The brighter you shine, the more the darkness sees you, right? Because you're shining bright for everybody to see. And that has to be extinguished by the darkness. That is its job. Think of a yin yang, forever circling. One side, right, is light and dark. The other side is darkness wrapped in light. And somewhere all the way to the end is somewhere in between that, right? The point that I'm making is that if you are living your life and trying to burn bright with kindness, caring, love, happiness, joy, positivity in general, right? It's going to be negativity that comes at you from every direction. And I might add, direct that you do not understand. What I mean by do not understand, yep. What I mean by do not understand is that we're not meant to understand what it's going to do for us. But when these things happen, we need to take it. It's okay to be hurt, especially if you don't understand it, right? It's okay to be hurt. Why? Ask why. Feel the pain, but then you get up and you burn brighter now. You burn brighter. What does not destroy us literally gives us the opportunity to get stronger, right? And everybody knows that old saying. I didn't want to say it in the most cliche way because then you don't hear it, right? What doesn't absolutely put an end to us forces us to become stronger people mentally, physically, and emotionally. You're forced to do it, right? So the next time that you're in that place, really think about it and don't. I've been having this conversation over and over and over, so I might as well talk about it. I'll probably come back and talk about it again on Friday. If you go too stoic, I didn't get a chance to tell my friend this. If you become so stoic in your beliefs, because stoic, the whole concept really is to be even, right? To balance yourself out, because you know that one is going to happen, right? Good and bad and forever, blah, blah, blah. But here's the problem I found as I was studying to do this. And I figured it out just days before Scott died. And then it was literally, it was smacked in my face, if you will. But here's the thing. Because when you're doing stoic, when you're practicing that lifestyle, it's generally when something bad has happened. You're like, what you tell yourself is, hey, the balance is it. And if you keep doing this, and reminding yourself that when something bad happens, something good is going to happen. But keep reminding yourself so that you do not feel the pain. Well, guess what? For everything there's a cause, right? Or for every cause there is effect. You do that, then on the side of joy and happiness, you will also be doling that edge. And things that are great, for instance, maybe a child's marriage, or graduation, or the birth of a new child, like all these things start to become big fuck deal. Because over here, when you get hurt and stuff, it's big fucking deal. It works both ways, folks. It really does. If you dole one side, you're doling the other. And I realized very quickly as I was starting to practice this. So I don't really tell people I'm practicing stoicism anymore. And I'm not, because I want to feel the pain. And I know somebody's going to be like, what are you talking about? Well, here's the facts. If I feel the pain, then I will appreciate joy when it comes. And the greater the pain, the greater the joy. So, and I'm not out there causing myself pain. So let's not get the sadist. I can already hear, I'm going to be so fucking happy. That's not, let me say that's not what I'm saying, right? This is not meant to go out there and start hurting yourself thinking that somehow it's going to make you really, really happy. What I'm saying is welcome the pain now the way that I welcome the joy, because anything less is going to work both ways. If I do anything less, then again, the beautiful things in life and the beautiful days that are full of joy become just not so important. And I don't want that. The whole reason that we're here, and y'all will start to understand this, but the whole reason, because this is what I've been, gearing up towards, is to start really preaching what I know, not what I think, right? Not what I believe or have belief and faith in, but what I know. Okay. Each and every one of you, I've said it 100 times, are important, and you're special. And the reality is, you're cuckoo. But that's perfect time. Most people don't know how strange normal is, and it really works. Most people don't know how normal strange is. It really doesn't matter. In fact, I should probably change it at this point, flip it around for a while, and make people like, did it used to say that? I'm not really sure. I know there's a lot of people out that don't believe in God, and it's unfortunate, because one of the first things I always do is God believes in you. A lot of people don't want to understand this, but when you finally start to understand what God is, a piece of that is in each and every person here. And if it's not, then you're a fucking a mongoloid, not a mongoloid, what's the word? An automaton, and you have no soul. And I do believe some of those are running around, by the way, they just run on auto. Hopefully nobody's made any. Then you got a real problem. Half a soul, that doesn't work out. What was the laughing? Thank you. I'm not sure which part you're laughing at, but yes, you have to, it's funny because remember the other saying, right? There's a thin line between pain and pleasure. Now, I am not talking about the sadists on this one. I'm saying that line actually applies to a lot more, because you truly start to understand that your pain gets joy, right? And what I mean by that is the pain that you suffer, the hurt, it is, whatever happened, I promise, ultimately, And I was talking to somebody, my thing is always, sometimes it may take 10 years. I was with somebody today and they're like, sometimes it takes 30. And I loved it. Fuck it, right, man. Sometimes it takes 30. We have an entire life to live. But eventually, due to that horrible thing, something fantastic will happen. In fact, I put it to you like this. It was the catalyst. If this horrible thing had not happened, this could have never been. Those of you who think that I'm full of shit, I practice it. I don't just preach it. My son died, right? Now I can sit around, many parents do, and I could be depressed. The 1-year anniversary is coming up. And when I say coming up, it's literally 11 days away. It hurts me. And there's times where I even told a good friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, I was like, I know everything's going to work out. I know it's going to be awesome and incredible, but I just don't give a fuck. And I was just talking about this with my wife and my mother. And it's not because I don't give a fuck, y'all. I feel like I know that everything that I'm going to build, it's a double-edged sword, because everything I'm going to build with this company is only here because Sky died. So this one is going to be successful and I'm going to love it. And he's not here. And I know that's selfish. I know it. I know it's not what I preach. It doesn't make it suck fucking ass any less. He's not going to be with me on this plane of existence to enjoy it. In fact, the fucked up part about it, I truly know it is by his own doing in the afterlife that this is all happening. I'm not going to go into all of it right now, but the bottom line is the signs showed me very, very early on. I figured it out within, I don't want to say hours, because it was Monday. He died on Saturday. I found out officially. I knew at around 10:20. I found out officially at 10:40. I'll never forget the pain. I knew in my heart, because I read the article described the loss of life that afternoon, and it all just, a parent just knows. And then the call came in. It was the most devastating thing, and it just bothers the shit out of me that I'm a sales and marketer and I'm going to have my biggest success, for lack of another way of looking at it, because my son died. So it feels like he had to die for me to have success. And that's a real fucked up feeling that I have to deal with. Of course, my mom is already saying it's not true. And I get that. But the essence of it, anybody can say what they want. I have to deal with this. The essence of it is true. And you can't really argue it if you know the facts. I appreciate that, Em. We'll hug one day, I promise. And, I don't want people to feel sorry for me. I'm sorry. That's not, I should say I apologize. I can't stand the term. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm not trying to get people to feel sorry. I'm trying to convey the fact that if I can deal with all of that, because I am, if I can deal with all that and keep moving forward, spread positivity, then anybody can. You know, I know other people have been through even more and still spread positivity. They have down moments like us all. If you don't have a down, how would you experience an up? We just through this, right? So it's okay to not only have a down, but to feel it, even wallow in it. So wallow in it, and then know that it's time to move on, right? Don't try to ignore it. Don't try to dull it. Unless that's what you want. If you want a dull day when your son is calling you and telling you that your first grandson is born or your first granddaughter is born, then go ahead and dull it, because you'll also dull the joy. But if you want to experience life to its fullest, what it has to offer the most, then you have to feel some of the worst pains in order to feel the greatest joys. That's all there is to it. You have to come to understand. I wouldn't even say you have to accept it, but if you look and pay attention to the world, you will find that everything happens for a reason. That literally goes with what I was saying right there. If you ways I did this was when I was 45, I think 45, 46. Was when my wife got hit by, and we sat and had what we call a night of miracles, and one of the miracles was one of the miracles that we experienced was that every horrible thing that we could think of in the past, right, with the exception of a few fresh things, but like I went way back into my past. So the idea was to go back, literally we went back like, in my case, sometimes 30 years, right? But it didn't matter what we chose. Every horrible thing was, as I already described to you, the catalyst for a greater thing. If it had not happened, something incredible never would have. And it hit me like a ton of bricks while I was sitting there. And I was just like, okay. So, and my wife had just got hit, and we were sitting there together. She was hit on Wednesday. She was still alive. And we're now at home on a Sunday night, and I remember thinking, okay, this sucks, and we're going to deal with some shit. But that was like the first time that it really, excuse me, that I used it just for that moment. And I didn't, like I said, I don't think you want to do this every time. But I was like, okay, this is going to be the catalyst to something much, much better, right? Just so y'all know, if that hadn't happened, we would have never gotten out to the Rockies. That's all there is to it. Sometimes it is as simple as financial gain. I hate to say it. It's what I'm dealing with. My son did not give up, or I should say my son did not die just simply for financial gain. There was a lot more to it, and I know that. It's much more. And if you know the story, you would understand that it's much more. What I have to deal with is this company that I'm creating is going to be successful, knock on wood. I believe it's a lot to do with him, but that success is built on the money from his death. So up here in the head, where our subconscious does the most damage to us, right? Telling you one thing, even though there's another that's completely real and actually much truer. So let's see, what do we got here? Who knows what would have happened if he were still here and not feeling for you, just love and respect for both you and him. It's a hard subject to speak on. I can't even imagine that kind of loss. You don't want to. It's funny. I remember speaking to a couple of people throughout the years. I mean, I had kids in 2000. So I remember speaking to a few people over the years that had lost a child, and at different ages too. And all I can tell you is, first of all, don't fear something, because if you fear it, you create it. Now, everything happens for a reason, so this is where it gets a little tangly, and you'll understand what I mean. I tried my best not to fear it, but I had an overwhelming feeling. Okay, fearing, right? And what I mean by that is it was a feeling and a fear, a fearing that I was going to experience the lost child. All I can tell you is, when I tried to voice it to my children, particularly the ones, the older ones, I didn't voice it. I have never voiced it to my younger ones. There was no need. And the reason that I voiced it to them was that I was dealing with it because they were now out and about. They're on their own. They're in their 20s. They're living life. I'm more fearful than ever, right? If you will. But I did. I feel it, and I knew it. And so did Scott. When we would talk, if I started to talk about that, he would freak out. And I mean, like he would get verbally angry and be like, "Stop talking about dad, or I'm leaving." Right? That to me is like the subconscious. That I look back at it now, and I know now that was the subconscious, which I think probably knows a lot more than we understand. But I truly believe that was his subconscious. Like, let's just not talk about this. You're going to have to deal with it soon the fucking up, right? By the way, I'm sure I'm going to get age restriction for the dropping of the F-bombs tonight. I don't give a fuck. If I will tell you this, and I'm sure YouTube is going to be, they might even say something to me in there. I am working on alternatives to this stuff, because the one thing that happens if you use any social channel, I don't care who they are, what they are, you are held to that social channel's ideals, as well as their beliefs and their practices, whether you agree with them or not. And it's funny, because everybody that says I'm gonna make my own, you're gonna deal with the same thing when they make their own. Even if I make one, then you're gonna be dealing with my ideals and my beliefs, right? So where does it stop? To me, I think we're gonna see eventually we're gonna see the withdrawal and the downfall of social networks as we know them, and people will go back to going to independent sites, right? And what that is, let's say they still buy it, because I know I do this. I still buy on Amazon a ton. But you know what I do? When I find something, I go and see if they have their own site. And 9 times out of 10, the companies I buy from have their own site. They are not just selling on Amazon. Why is that important, you ask, Spirit? Well, very simply put, if they have their own business, they are more than just a fly-by-night, number one. Number two, they've probably had to put more into it than just, again, listing on Amazon and listing some products. When you've built an entire site that is up and running, and just have a site, it's got to be something decent, That tells you a lot about a company in an age. It would be like, comparatively so, like the day of the catalog stores, right? Like the day of the catalogs is what I want to say, where, you don't see anybody still with a catalog, right? But it said something, if you knew behind that catalog, they brick and mortar establishment that was up and running. Actually, the next phase of the company I'm working on is that we are going to open up a brick and mortar. it deserves it. And it's really, I mean, I really can't till all of it kind of comes together. And what I mean by that is when I don't care about salt and peppering in what I do, because I think a lot of people will be not only proud of it, but proud to be a part of it, proud to work for it, proud to work with it. I think it's going to be awesome. One at a time. Part of it being fucking incredible is that it's going to be a real pain in the ass sometimes and a real challenge. There's days like today when I want to cry, rip my hair out, and just yell and scream, why, in a dancing fit across the room, right? But the reality is that's not, I'm not going to get without the other. To think I'm not going to have those days and this is going to be, something great and spectacular, that to me is an unrealistic. So I guess in a slight way, I'm still keeping that bit of Stoic philosophy that keeps in the back of my head me going, okay, when the bad days come, and even when the good days come, take it slightly lighthearted, particularly with the company. And I think I'll run the company stoic. I'll live my life much less stoic, but the company, I think I will run stoic, because I believe truly if I run it with less emotion, which, stoic kind of boils down to being extremely logical, if you can't figure that out. I would rather run the company from a more logical standpoint rather than letting my emotions dictate my behaviors, because then it's not going to go well. I know that. So there's the balance. And I just sat here and figured it out with all y'all live on YouTube. There's a reason that I was to it, and I get it. For company's sake, stoic is better. And to separate the two actually is, I think, brilliant, because in my life I will have ups and downs. And as I come home, even though home is the same company, when I share it with family, which is also the owners, but when we share it at, the dinner time, then it's time to be excited with the kids and with other family members and other friends, right? But during the time of a moment of up or down, it's better to, in my, again, humble opinion, find that logical step and go ahead and move forward on it, whether it's good or bad. That way you're not giving it a whole lot of attention for one, and you're not letting it dictate your decision making, because you're bringing it back down to logic. What does logic dictate I do here? I don't know about y'all, but I've always loved the word dictate. I've always assumed that there was more K's in there, Anyway, and to me, I always hear it in reverse. Take, blop. So you can figure that one out. I'll let that blank out for you. The last thing I'll say is I really do. I know these things are real. And I know that if you have a bad day, feeling that pain, and then moving forward with it, you will be more appreciative of what's on the other side. And if you need help, this is what I was immediately trying to get to, but I needed to say that. If you need help, my social channels are all there. You can reach out to me. I will respond back. I'm not even close to famous. I'm not even close to an internet celebrity. I'm simply Spirit of 420, and I don't mind being here. And anybody who reached out and tested it has found that they got help. So I'm always here for any of you. All you have to do is ask, and there'll come a time. I'm just telling you. I know I can feel it. There'll come a time when I won't have as much time, and I'll probably have to do things like booking 15-minute appointments. But hey, one step at a time, and now's the time to get to know me when I can truly give you individual attention, because no matter what happens, I will still try to do it, but obviously it will be under much larger numbers as time continues to move forward. Thank you so much, Em. I appreciate it too. Appreciate you. It's those type of words that it's a back and forth type of thing. I'm taking as much as I'm giving. Again, yin yang. It's all about balance. It's all about balance. That's all I can tell you, you know. And the thing is, the way that I've come to look at it is, you decide really, once you totally get that, then you decide what range do you want to take your sadness, and what range do you want to take your joy. And really the latter is the one that you figure out, and then you accordingly so deal with the anger and the sadness, right? Figure out how much joy you're going to experience, and then know that that's how much pain you're going to experience in this life too. And it's okay. It's okay. Everybody goes through pain. You know, what's really sad, and I'll leave it with this. What's really sad, I've seen this, and I when I say it's sad because I can't stand seeing it, because you can't change it. You can't. Is there's some people that just never ever see the good. I was really worried that my son was going to be that way, the living twin. Just on an update, he's not. I will tell you that. But I was really worried that going to be that way. And when I see somebody like that, it's really sad, because like they'll even tell you in their story, they'll tell you something bad, and many times in that same story, they'll tell you something good, and they just overlooked it. It didn't matter to them, or they didn't see it because they were consumed with the negativity, right? I was one of those people. So, you know what they say, or the cliche, but it's our own defects. It's our own defects that most of us spot in other people, that we're like, you know, we end up pointing at, yeah, you did this. Next time you say somebody did something to you, and it doesn't mean to beat yourself up. That's not what I'm saying. Look at your own actions though, and think how you might do that, because you have an opportunity to deal with the pain. You know, I'm not saying people didn't do anything to you. That's not my point. And many times you have the right to feel the pain. I'm not even saying that you do the same thing to them. I'm just saying, usually what people see, what we see in others, we notice mostly in others our own defects. So think about it next time, because it'll really help you. It's a good exercise, that when somebody has hurt you, think about how it has hurt you, and then think to yourself, is there anybody else in your life, anywhere that you may have done that or a variation of that too? And now you have an appreciation for what they were going through. You know, AA, and I was a part of it for years, but AA has a real great program. You know, and they even call it the program. One of the best parts of that program, though, if I'm remembering it correctly, step 9 and 10, right? Step 9 and 10 essentially is you make a list of everybody that you've ever wronged is 9. And then 10, you go and you make amends to. And I will tell you something. I will say this right now. For anybody who is struggling with life and having problems, the 12 steps are fantastic, because they work for anybody. And anybody who knows them knows it's not just alcohol, it's not just drugs, it's not just sex, it's just even addiction. It's anything that is more powerful than you and has your life to an unmanageable, you're, you know, how do I say it? This is more powerful than you, period. You know, maybe it doesn't really matter. Go into examples. You know what I'm talking about if you're there. And all I can tell you is those 12 steps are a lifesaver. I have used them on multiple occasions. I've used cigarettes. I've used, I mean, like when I say it doesn't, that, I mean, that is an addiction, but it doesn't always have to be like a back-breaking addiction that we're talking about, right? And just know that if you have a problem with or religion or a doctor telling you to stop doing something, try the 12 steps, because they really are amazing. I personally know they were a godsend, like so many other things. I'll say it in the simplest way. If you were God, here's a question for you. If you were God, right? Now let's just mark this. Oh, hold on. Let's see this. Yep. And yeah, I promise you, it doesn't matter who you are. It does body, the mind, and the emotional state good, because it's a purge of a type, right? Uh, but here's a question. So here's the setup first. If you're God, right, then the things that we can assume and that we know of God, and when we describe God, is a God transcends time and space, so there is no specific time. You know, God is there always, right? The other thing that we know is God has no questions. There's no questions anymore. God knows everything, which means no questions, right? And last but not least, if you put those two together, right, then as God, you would be able to see and pinpoint the exact right time to do anything. So I ask you, if you're God, are you going to see just one dude throughout time, space, and everything, just one dude that speaks one language to spread a message? It's just a question. That's all I have. I have another question too that a lot of people like, and I'll share it with you real quick. And you have, excuse me, you have evolutionists, right? Evolution, and then you have, yeah, exactly. Far from God. I like that. That's a good one. Yeah. But you have people that believe in the fact that we evolved, evolutionists, right? And then you have people that believe it was a preordained plan, and people would say that's me. See, for instance. But what I've always to both sides is, have you ever thought that God made the Big Bang? Right? Because if you know these two theories, one says the Big Bang happened and one says it didn't, but my simple theory to it, and I feel like there's something to be said for it, because to me it's when the switch turned on, man. Like, if you're God, you're going to start somewhere, right? It's no coincidence, folks, that our entire universe, everything is based on electricity and so much electromagnet. I mean, I'm not even going to get into it. I don't have the time, and I've already been on, which blows my mind. I didn't think I would even go this long tonight. That's what she said. But simply put, right? If you're God, there's a lot of things that just make sense. Look at it from a logical standpoint of if you were God. So, on an ending note, how should I end? I think I'll just say this. As usual, I do love you all, and that goes without saying. But the next time, and I really mean this, the next time you're going really shit moment where you really feel like you can't see the other side, or the other side isn't worth having, which is, by the way I'm feeling 50% of the time right now, if y'all haven't been listening, right? If that's the case, I promise you, reach out to me, because I will drop my bullshit and I will put my focus on to you, which is exactly what I need to do in the moment and exactly what you need in the moment. So try me, because one day, I promise you, and anybody who's ever been a friend of mine knows that one day I'll hit you up and I'll be like, hey man, I apologize for the drama, but listen to this shit, right? Because that's what unconditional love and support is. If you give unconditional love and you give support, then you have to know you're going to get hurt. There's going to be times that you get hurt. Part of that is that you've given that, so you have it to hold on to when you're hurt. But more importantly, you have it to give again when someone else is hurt. It is a give and take, a constant revolution. But all I can tell you is you've got to do it. You've got to and go, you know what? And here's the statement that this is all building to. And this isn't a great book. I'm not going to tell you about it right now. Go back and watch my old streams. Read the book live. I did a live stream. Oh, thank you, Em. I see that. Hold on. I saw the laughter, but I just saw much love. Absolutely. I want to ask this question. Some of you will already know the answer because you've been around for a while. What is the bravest thing anyone ever asked for? I want to really think about that for a minute. I don't want to just shout it out. If somebody knows it and you want to put it in the chat, go ahead and do so, and then give it like maybe a minute before you hit send. But it's a simple question. What's the bravest thing anyone's ever asked for? What is the bravest thing anyone has ever asked for? Excuse me. I'm going to take one more sip of coffee. I'm sorry. I'll give you one hint. It's a 4-letter word. It's funny because most people don't think of this until it's said, and then you're like, of course, that's it. So here it is. The bravest thing that anybody has ever asked for: help. That's it. I didn't come up with that one. I am simply repeating what someone said. I'm repeating the words of somebody else. There you go. You were right there, princess. You were right there. Good job. Nice. I think you said it as I was, or you typed it as I was saying it. Either way, it is help. It is help. It takes so much swallowing of the pride to ask anybody for any type of help, because what happens in is you're admitting by yourself you could not deal with whatever it is. But that's not the way to look at it. See, that's the subconscious way kicking your ass. What's actually happening is you are seeking more opinions. You are seeking further and different opinions to make sure that you have the best solution. So the next time that you think it, and you'll feel it. I'm telling you, you'll feel it. You'll know what I'm talking about. And you're like, If I ask for help, then da-da-da. It doesn't matter if you're asking for money. It doesn't matter if you're asking for help on the job, maybe how to do something. If you're asking for help in school, how to study something. If you're asking for help, how to literally have sex with your wife better. I don't care what. When you ask for help, it's a thing of pride and you feel like you've let yourself down. Instead of feeling that way, think of it as that I am improving my situation by getting other people's different opinion outside of my singular opinion so that I have the actual best solution moving forward. Think of it that way. Okay. In fact, I just had an idea. You're going to like this one. I'll tell you later, but I had to write it down so I didn't forget it. All right. So, what did we learn today, kids? Anyway, what we learned is one thing. You're all full of love. Nobody is better than you. Nobody is worse than you. We all reside equally on this plane of existence. Do not think for 1 second that having money or a better job or a better car or any of that shit makes anybody better or worse, because it does not. I promise you. I have met, and say this without a doubt, I have met some of the nicest, coolest, most caring people when I was living on the streets. What do we got here? Yes, it is. And yes, you do have to trust them, but that's why it's so incredibly brave. Brave thing anybody's ever asked for. So, what did we learn? That's it. That was the concept of today's show. I hope that everybody got something out. I promise you, I did. I get something out of every single show. I stand up, and I tried to share with you tonight just a little bit. And I do apologize for my mood coming down, but I tried to share with you just a little bit that there's a whole nother life behind, these little tidbits. I go on live 3 times best for about an hour at a time, each day, maybe 4 times. So you might get 3 to 4 hours on a heavy week, right? Unless I do a 420 special. Even then, you might get a total of 8 hours of my time from 7 times 12. What is that? 84 hours, right? No, 96. Whatever the hell it is. I can't. I'm sorry. I'm stoned right now. 70. 7. 60, 72, 84. I was right. I said it right the first time. My instincts kicked in and I didn't trust them. See? So if you have 84 hours and you get to see 8 of them, man, you're talking about a 14th, a very small window of time, right? And my only point was that we all go through the shit. We all have the shit. But if you're drowning in this fucking world, right? When you are drowning and somebody throws their hand out, grab it. Because they might not always be there to throw their hand out. And then when you want it and it's not there, what's going to happen? You know what I mean? Doesn't mean they don't want to be there for you next time. That's not it. You just never know. So you always take that hand when you can in this world. That's my belief. And with that, I love all you guys. Every one of you are very special. You are, again, nobody's worse than you. Nobody's better than you. The richest man, the one that has the most gold, is actually many times the poorest man in the room. Just remember that. I love all of you guys. Oh, I missed here. What's up, Kickin? How you doing? How is shit going in Zealand, brother? Love you, man. Good to see you. I hope you go back and watch the show. I think you'll like it. It was a pretty good one, but I'm literally just came up on an hour now, so I was getting ready to getting ready to bale hay, man. And it's literally how it worked. I was getting ready to bail, and I saw you. Was, hey, man, you get that? Bale hay, man. Anywho, play on words, pun is fun. I love all of y'all. I'm actually going to go over here now and click the brand. So here it goes. I'm getting ready to count it down. I love all of you. You are all awesome, incredible people. I hope you have a blessed and incredible week. I will be back on Friday. Until then, keep the peace and just remember one thing. Just one thing. That's all you got to remember. Love yourself. Peace.
I switch here, I'm a strange fuck. Consist on ain't something I could say well. Fill my change into the wishing for a change well. Wish a day a swell life for the next come. And when the next come, pretend that it's the best one. Like I ain't even gonna try and say that to the next one.